all my people. And if you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a market by choice. I am the Will Gray. And joining me tonight, we have a very special guest sitting adjacent to your boy Jax. He is host of the NWA Powerrrr live streams. He has a mind for all things wrestling, horror, and movies. It's our boy Gary Horne. Gary, how are you, brother?
Man, I am great. I don't really know you guys, but I can tell we're going to be the best of friends. That whole like Fallout style intro had me pumped up as I was getting ready. I was like, what is this? Did I just enter the video game? This is amazing. I literally was like looking over here at my little bobblehead, and I was like, I'm ready for this.
Dude, all of mine up here, bro. I see it. Like Rivet City Radio is the broadcasting network that we broadcast under. We've got tons of shows. We go 7 nights a week, not just wrestling. But Rivet City, the core of what we do, it came from Rivet City in Fallout 3, kind of that catch-all. It had a little bit of everything, and that's what Rivet City Radio represents. It's got wrestling, it's got horror, it's got comedy and sports, and everything. So that's kind of what it represented. So it seemed natural for the Ink Spots.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So, but also joining me without haste, the newest member of the Botched, Bots, and Chair Shots family, but he's one of the closest to my hearts. It's everybody's favorite Ginger Ninja, Jax. So, Jax, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm excited.
Well, we're gonna get going, but first and begrudgingly, the boss bitch Al Siegel, she's not here with us tonight. She decided to take the night off. She is in protest because her favorite wrestler Kenny Omega still does not have a world title yet. So she is refusing to show up on air until Kenny Omega wins a title. Jax has her t-shirt ready to go for her. Tommy's here. Al's here. Tommy's here. Everybody's here. So we're going to hang out. But Gary, we're going to start at the top, man. I always ask everybody the same question right off the top. And it's, what has you pissed off for greatness, man? What has you worked up this week? Good, bad, indifferent. It could be somebody's gear, a match, a finish, anything. You're the guest, so you can go first, or you can cede to Jax and make him go. Either way, you both have to answer.
I actually do have something for this. You warned me. So the thing that came straight to mind when you mentioned this is something I've been noticing, and I've been bad about it, responding to these things on my own Twitter account. So I can definitely refer to it here. So Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful, he tweeted, this was 10:03 p.m. on September 29th. I have it pulled up. And I'm sorry if this gets obnoxious to anybody else, but I think I'm brought in to be kind of the NWA rep, so I'm going to do it. He tweeted, wild to think LA Knight, Ricky Starks, Eddie Kingston, Chelsea Green, Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb were all in the NWA a few years ago. Now, this is not a statement on Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful.com. I have no problem with him. He's just making a statement. I don't know what tone of voice he had necessarily or anything like that. But in the tweets that followed, in the replies, a lot of people either went one of two ways. They were like, yeah, they gave these people a chance and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people were like, yeah, look how they squandered everything. And so I think there's plenty of things you can nitpick the National Wrestling Alliance for, sure. But I have to say that is not one of them. I don't think that the NWA squandered anything with those people. They were heavily featured, and all of those people were in the title picture, or had championships themselves. They were considered big pieces of that NWA puzzle at the time. I think it's a little unfair that a lot of these people seem to think that, I don't know, Billy Corgan is a wealthy man, but he is not a billionaire. And so with these people starting to take off, there's no way that, as much as we'd love it, Billy Corgan is not going to compete with WWE and AEW or any of that stuff, or even Impact, it's run by billionaires. So when the bigger money comes, you expect the talent's going to go there. And I think even Billy Corgan and the rest of the National Wrestling Alliance also expect that to happen. They know that what they can offer is the platform, and that works, and it's gonna elevate some people to move on to the next level. And I would argue that a lot of people in the National Wrestling Alliance right now you're going to be saying the same thing about in 3 or 4 years from now too.
Scowls in the chat says the minute people don't have a belt or lose a lot, they get designated as a failure. I was looking at it like that's like looking at Limitless. They had MJF and they had, it was MJF and it was Anthony Green and it was, all these great indie minds that were going through who went on to do Damian Priest was another one who went through there all at the same time. And you start looking at it, you're like, yeah, but it's right time, right place. And sometimes those people aren't there or they're not in the same position. You look at Ricky Starks now versus where he was in 2019. That's 4 years difference of in-ring work and stuff. He's a totally different man in the ring than he was 3-4 years ago when he was wrestling in the NWA.
That guy,
Jack,
I remember at the time, like he was not well known. He was on the indie scene, and he had his fans. I'm not going to say the NWA did. I'm not going to say that like the NWA is the only reason he's like big or anything like that. I just mean this guy got a bigger platform by being on the National Wrestling Alliance, and I think a lot more people took notice of him at that point. And then, of course, now that he's in AEW, I think AEW. I'm 90% sure that Tony Khan probably first saw Ricky Starks on NWA, and when the pandemic hit and Ricky Starks is looking for work, and he brought him in for that one-off that they all saw it too. The same thing that the National Wrestling Alliance saw.
AJ says his pissed off for greatness is he's not happy with Darby and Christian as the main event tonight for Wrestle Dream. Well, I think we've got some AEW stuff in news and rumors. Jax, you got anything on that, or you got a pissed off for greatness for us, sir?
Oh, I got a pissed off for greatness. I don't think, by the way, I don't think the NWA squandered Ricky Starks or Thunder Rosa they were all, like y'all said, at the time, they were the foundation at some point of NWA. Like, and I'm loving, and I know we'll get into it later, but I'm loving this new era we're going into. And you could ask Will, like, I'm still new on the new NWA train, but I've been like, I'm liking the way it's going. And it's getting, I'm excited to see where it goes. But my pissed off for greatness is if you're a champion, okay, championship belts are prestigious. Carry the belt with you to the ring. The Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page are now the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions. But not one of them, Wednesday night, not one of them carried the belt on TV with them. I just find that that's something that like some of these men and women in this industry die to have, and you're just going to leave it backstage. That just tweaks me a little bit.
I'm curious about your input on that, Gary. Working with the NWA, thinking outside of it, because in my brain, I think AEW, Ring of Honor, same company. So I don't think of that as like crossing streams at all. From your perspective with the NWA, how would you think about another company's title coming onto Power?
I personally, as a fan, if you're a champion somewhere, I want you to have the belt.
Agreed.
I'm with our friend here. I don't have a problem with it at all. Like, I think you should. If I were a professional wrestler with a title, I would make sure everybody in the world knew about it. So I would have it on me at all times. I get, like, if it's cross company, at certain points there can be weirdness there, I guess. I hate all that just on a personal level. Like, I think it's worthless. I think that in the NWA, they generally feel the same. Like, they don't care about that. But I will say, like, I know, our women's champion now, Kenzie Page, she's held regional titles in like Tennessee and stuff, and I don't think she ever brings them on really. So I don't know if that's by choice or like if it's something asked of her or whatever the deal is. But if you are in AEW and you have the Ring of Honor titles, I don't know why you wouldn't bring the Ring of Honor belts on there, because you're not competing against each other necessarily. And it seems like you'd want that to help advertise the other show. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't know.
That's what I said. I thought it would make sense for them to have them. To me, that's not crossing streams at all. And there's built-in stories with Khan and Matt being in the same match and them just beating the Embassy for those titles. Like, there's built-in stories for those matches to be told. With the titles not being there, it just loses all of that momentum. But what the hell do I know, right?
It's always tough. I don't know. I always try to keep in mind I'm not privy to every little business detail, but even that, again, like, I know if you were an NWA champion and you went on another show, like back when, like, say Camille went on AEW, they would for damn sure want you to have that title with you when you went. They
Yeah.
would want you to promote that you are the champion over there. So I know you want that from that version of it. So I imagine that's part of the negotiation of having it happen.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, EC3's carrying that NWA gold around, the 10 pounds with him everywhere.
Oh yeah, he's doing the world tour now. The world title world tour is what he's calling it.
Yeah.
That's
And he's
he
recruiting
wants
all
to
the
show it off
overmen.
everywhere.
Yeah, and he's recruiting the overmen from OVW. There's so much like I'm
It's
really
too
happy
great.
with a lot of what's going on. An NWA TNA question, sure, AJ. Jamie is Will 2.0. Tinfoil hat time. Mine's kind of short and sweet, and then we'll get into a little bit of news and rumors before we chew on the NWA stuff. Mine is I'm a staunch supporter for the indies. I watch a ton of indies. I cover a ton of indies with my interviews. There's a lot of people who watch WWE who like to kind of take a dump on the indies because they do indie stuff, Legos and all the nonsense that the indie wrestlers do. But last night, on one of the biggest stages of the biggest company, Becky Lynch dumped out a bag full of Barbie pieces. So in my head, I'm like, you got to take it a little bit easy on the indie guys now. If they're doing the same kind of stuff in the biggest company on the planet, like, you lose a little bit of the wind in your sails now that WWE is doing the same stuff. AJ wants to know, who do you think the best NWA TNA champion was when the NWA belt was part of the TNA lineage? If you can think right offhand.
Well, I don't remember if AJ is the person who was having a problem with the main event or the Christian matchup being featured against Darby, but Christian's a tough one to argue. Like, Christian's a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion because during his time in TNA, I think he's a couple of time champion actually, and so I like him a lot. And I think it's hard to argue against, like, say, AJ Styles. AJ Styles is a former NWA World Champion from his time in TNA, so that's a pretty awesome one to have.
Yeah, I like AJ. I know, Jax, you're a big AJ Styles fan, right? But
he signed the belt.
He signed the belt. Who's your TNA Impact guy, though?
People are going to hate me. I'm going to get heat. But I really enjoyed Jeff Jarrett's heel run with it.
Yeah.
Like, I enjoyed Ron the Truth Killings having it. Like, it's hard to argue who the best TNA NWA champion was, because at the time, there were look at the talent that came out of that year, like the class of the original TNA. So look at Jeff Jarrett. He's still doing it. As much as people hate the man, he's still doing it.
Jeff Jarrett's got, I mean, that guy, yeah, it's hard to argue against Jeff Jarrett. I mean, he's got the lineage and the history and everything on his side. So he's and he cared about that relationship. I mean, that's why him and his dad made the National Wrestling Alliance part of TNA at that time. So I always appreciate guys that have that respect for, like, the people that came before and all of that. And so, you know, that Jarrett, he had some good feuds. And you mentioned, I mean, R-Truth. Yeah, people today can't even fathom R-Truth as Ron the Truth Killings and being a former world champion. I think twice. And so, no, it was like a different guy back then. It was a different world. I don't know. Another lifetime.
Yeah, absolutely right. Love R-Truth. And when people say that, they're kind of like, whoa, wait a second, like R-Truth? And I'm like, yeah, there's so much R-Truth in that onion when you start peeling back the layers, besides just the umpteenth million time 24/7 champion R-Truth.
Yeah, I mean,
there's that with wrestler.
Yeah, no, he was great, and I, you know, and I don't want to only talk about NWA all the time, but yeah, you go back and look at that time period. I mean, you had guys like it's just cool that it's part of the NWA titles lineage now that you've got like the AJ Styles, the Jeff Jarrett, you've got Rhino, Christian Cage, Sting is a former NWA World Heavyweight Champion with that 10 pounds of gold during his TNA time, and Abyss. There's a lot of guys.
Adam Pearce, like
Adam Pearce,
he's just not a backstage guy. Like he was NWA champion for a long time.
Yeah, a lot of these people have that history with the National Wrestling Alliance.
All righty, let's dive into a little bit of news and rumors. And then we'll dive into where the National Wrestling Alliance is in 2023. First one and foremost, according to PW Insider, Edge has been completely removed from WWE's internal roster. It's believed that he is free and clear to sign elsewhere as of this Sunday, October 1st, which happens to be the same date as AEW's Wrestle Dream, i.e. tonight, ladies and gentlemen. What are you guys' thought of Edge, Adam Copeland possibly wrestling somewhere other than WWE?
I'll let you go first on that one.
It's almost going to be like watching Cody walk back into a WWE ring. It's going to feel like it's CGI'd. It's not going to feel real. I think it's going to be it'll be a big, huge signing for AEW. But yeah, I go with Scouts. It's weird to think Edge will go anywhere other than a WWE ring. And that I never thought I'd live to see like a company somewhat compete. But Edge is a big signing.
That's a big get.
He's a legacy, like he's a legendary signing who's still active.
It's so interesting to me because and I think the chat's kind of that way too. Like it's like I can't imagine Edge anywhere else. But I don't know. It's so like I kind of, this is gonna sound bad, I guess, but I kind of don't even want to see him anywhere else. Like I just feel like I kind of just like the idea that he was there the whole time in WWE. But I mean, I get it if it's like the situation where what you imagine happened with Christian and Big Show, Paul White, like that. You know, WWE is not going to pay you the same amount than AEW does, and you can still get a nice paycheck. I guess you're doing at this point what's best for you and your family, and so you know that's where the loyalty ends. I guess I don't even think it's like loyalty, like it's any bad blood. I think it's just like no, I can make way more money and still make money, so I need to go do it while I can.
I mean, I've heard people say that until you physically can't scratch that itch anymore, you're going to keep chasing it, and it's, I hope for his and his family's sake, he doesn't go to the well one too many times, with somebody with his medical history. I just hope he stays healthy no matter how long he decides to do it.
Yeah. You kind of have to trust that they know what's best, in that situation. I hope, I know that's a weird thing to say with athletes. They'll push themselves sometimes, but I assume if he's going to get in the ring that he's well informed that he can do it. I mean, I know there's the Christian thing too, but I have to assume too that those guys are still hanging out all the time anyway, with or without being in the ring as a team or something. But I do believe that Tony Khan is probably an Edge fan, and it would probably be something he would do whatever it takes to get. So I can also see that side of it.
All right. Next off the list, PCO is given notice to Impact, according to journalist and author Pat LaPrade. PCO's contract ends October 30th. So going into November, we've got another one. PCO, he's crossed paths. He's gone through an NWA ring. I'm pretty sure at least a couple times. All the way back into the history of him working for the WWF in the 80s. The man's got a historic career. What do you guys think about PCO hitting the free agent market in 2023? Any input?
I mean, I like him as a wrestler. I got no problem with him. I feel like, just in a personal opinion kind of thing, I think he's probably not somebody like the WWE's looking at, like given
For
his
sure.
age and everything. If they're not gonna sign Edge to a big money deal, then, you know, or like whatever, if they're not working extra hard to keep Edge, they're probably not going out. WWE doesn't feel like they have to look very hard. I'm sure AEW doesn't either. I can see their PCO does have like that unique like word of mouth of the IWC. So like maybe, but I don't know. Maybe that's what he's doing, is just testing the waters, and maybe he ends up right back at Impact. I mean, I feel like, you know, I don't see why the National Wrestling Alliance wouldn't be interested in having him come in at least, you know, a little, you know, if he wanted to, and they could work something out.
I feel like he's been in the industry long enough that is specifically something like the wrestling business. He's paid his dues, where if he decided, okay, he could select and pick and choose his dates at this point. You know, if he's only going to work specific indies, or, you know, when he does work, it'll be like, you know, tour sets, and, you know, he'll make his turnarounds and stuff. But I feel like he's more than capable at this point of his career just deciding when he wants to work. Somebody like a Crowbar. Crowbar still does it, where he's just deciding, I want to work this weekend, so I'm going to accept a booking. You know what I mean? PCO's well at this point in his career where that's the direction I feel like he could comfortably go with it.
That makes sense. Yeah. I mean, if you can, I mean, I don't know. Matt Cardona's proven it. I mean, you can make a living that way. You can make that happen for yourself if you, I'm sure it's not easy, but yeah, you can get yourself booked all over and keep yourself looking good.
Jax, you got anything on PCO?
I can see PCO doing some like GCW appearances and stuff like that. And then like, sense. You know, like, because he's not afraid to put his body on the line. But at the same time, I think he might just, I mean, let him go hit like the convention circuit, do conventions for a while, and then find your way somewhere and just keep your name relevant. Like PCO, he's fucking crazy.
I mean, I think his aesthetic would fit in well with GCW but once again, he could just decide, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go work with, you know, Brett and the boys. Let's go do a GCW show this weekend. Like, I'm here for it. The man's done whatever he could do at this point in his career. Let him do whatever he wants. Wrestling Observer News. Uncle Dave reported that Cristiano Ronaldo is in talks to appear on November 4th at Crown Jewel. So WWE is looking to expand into that world market by bringing in somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo. What do y'all think about WWE bringing in celebrity appearances in wrestling? That's been such a success with Bad Bunny. We saw, I mean, everybody from Bad Bunny to Snooki to now possibly Cristiano Ronaldo. What do y'all think about celebrity appearances in WWE pay-per-views?
I can't argue with if it's successful. I mean, if it's got a proven track record, then fine. I get the appeal of it. You know, if you bring in other eyeballs from a different fan base, then, you know, it makes sense to try it out. Two things I would say are, I don't know if I believe that any of Ronaldo's fan base is going to translate to wrestling besides like that one appearance. If that, you know, like, what are they going to see I mean, I guess you're hoping you present something that they're like super into. It just feels like totally different worlds to me. And then I don't know, is Crown Jewel like you need extra eyeballs for Crown Jewel? Don't they like just force everybody in that room or something like that? I don't know.
It's a bot show, man. All those tickets are paid for. Yeah. Like, it doesn't matter.
You're fucking going. You're going to it.
Yeah, like it's pretty
like
much
Ronaldo being there is not going to change the attendance. I don't feel like. So.
Yeah,
like that attendance is already set.
Yeah.
Scouse brings up a good point. If he does come in and he intends to do any work, he's got big shoes to fill with the success of Bad Bunny, Logan Paul, Pat McAfee coming in and being able to excel in the ring athletically as wrestlers. I mean, he would have to be able to step up and show out if he wanted to work.
Oh, he wants to wrestle? I thought he was just coming in to wave his hand.
No, I don't know. It's just all speculation at this point. Nothing's been verified. Scouse is saying if he plans to wrestle, Like he's gonna have to be
Oh.
ready to show out because of the successes like Bad Bunny, like Logan Paul, like Pat McAfee.
Well, they're right, because I mean those guys raised the bar maybe too high, because I don't know. Like, I mean, they nailed it like 3 times in a row there with those guys. And I mean, Logan Paul came in, and I don't even want to like him really, but that guy,
Yeah.
like, just, I mean, he performs like he's been main eventing WrestleMania already. And just like, I don't know, it's wild.
All right. Fightful on NXT. They reported that NXT has seen a bolstering of the roster with main roster talent coming back to NXT as a form to help like get the ratings up. They're wanting to draw numbers, put eyes on the product, get butts in seats. Scows had reported that on Off the Top. I also reported that here. Now we get the news officially, like NXT is having those guys brought on to bolster their ratings. Are we moving to a point where NXT is finally just going to be acknowledged of its own third brand in WWE?
I'll be honest, I haven't kept up immensely with NXT besides just checking the results and watching highlights and stuff like that. So maybe I'm exactly who they're like looking for to be like, come back and watch us regularly. I mean, I love Becky Lynch a lot. So I could get the point there. I also saw like I think it was Al in the chat mentioned earlier that they hated seeing things like main roster folks come into NXT and win gold over there, and I could see that argument too. That could be annoying, especially if you're an NXT fan. If you want it to be a third brand, to have like these other people come in and they're, I don't know. I guess in the end, you're hoping to elevate everyone, but it's a tricky subject, I guess.
Jack, anything?
It is a very tricky subject. I enjoy NXT storytelling, and they like last night they had I believe it was a sleeper pay-per-view of the weekend. Like they said, okay, let's go out there and show them what we have. To know it, AEW is going to have to one up them, but I don't really like. I wish Jade would have showed up last night. That's all I know. Like I enjoyed their storytelling, no matter how it's done. That's what I enjoy of NXT.
I don't know. Like it feels like I could anger half the IWC by saying I am a huge Jade Cargill mark. I love Jade Cargill, and
he's grown on me a lot over the last 3 years, big time.
Yeah, I get a lot of people aren't into her, but I feel like she is on her way now. Like I feel like she was built for WWE. It's hard to explain like why. I just feel like they're about to take her and make her super special. And hope I'm not wrong, because I did not that AEW misused her. She's former TNT champion or whatever, not TNT champion, TBS champion. But, like, so I won't say they mishandled her or anything like that. I just think she's meant to be huge. There's something about her that just like she's obviously got stuff they'll want her to work on, but I feel like the right people are going to be at WWE that know how to adjust exactly all of those things.
All right, gentlemen, last one before we go into the NWA news. It's our Ryback tinfoil hat moment of the week, guys. On the Ryback show this week, Ryback claimed he has a big framed poster from the movie Rudy right across from his bathroom. So every morning, first thing, he sees it because he loves a good underdog story. Do we think Ryback is completely full of shit at this point?
Not if he's doing it while he's sitting on the toilet.
Yeah. Like, is he just saying stuff to say it? Like, does he actually think this, like, is this going to get him over again? Like, he seems, it's almost comedic now. It's almost like he knows what he's saying. Like, he's just trying to be funny about it.
I mean, you look at, it's a dangerous game when you poke the bear that is the internet And so I don't know. You never know, like how that's gonna go. Believe me, I would have a decent relationship with a company that seems to do that on the regular. So the I don't know. Like I personally, like being real, I was okay with Ryback when he was in WWE. I kind of liked him. Like I thought he had a good look. I thought the character was kind of cool when he was doing his thing and like being kind of the next. I hated that everybody did Goldberg with him all the time because I feel like a lot of wrestlers are. Maybe he was too close, but like Hulk Hogan and superstar Billy Graham, the Nature Boy Ric Flair was not the first Nature Boy. Like they're and maybe it was too close to it that Goldberg had just happened and whatever. I don't know. Anyway, Ryback only got weird to me since the his time where he's been really online. And so you'd almost think, and I'm sorry if I'm going off on too much of a tangent here, but you'd almost think with the whole CM Punk thing going the way it is right now, the whole reason that Ryback got crapped on in the first place was because of a lot of stuff CM Punk said. So you'd almost think people would be willing to go back and reevaluate him if he had not talked as much. I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't know who's dying to get Ryback in, and I don't know what he can do anymore. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I have no personal issue with Ryback.
He's not even doing conventions or anything. Like what is he doing like with himself? Like I don't even know what he does.
TikTok lives and he does Twitch streams and he's got a nutrition deal. He does like protein and stuff like that for like nutritionists for workouts and gyms, which makes sense. The man's built huge. He's got a great physique.
I bought some of that early on. I bought some of Ryback's he was advertising on like the Pro Wrestling Torch or something. I remember I was subscribed to it. He would come on there and talk, and I got kind of into it. I was like, all right, I'll try your pre-workout and see how it is, see if it gets me hyped and stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm not going to hate on anybody for being motivated, but I don't know. It's tricky. I didn't mean to step on what you were saying there, Jackson.
Oh, no, you're totally fine.
All right, guys, we did it. We made it through the news and rumors. We did all of that. But Gary, why you're here? Our producer Al coined it. She said it's the Botched Boss and Chair Shots Power Hour, which I thought was hilarious when she said it. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of plow through as many of these titles as we can, kind of talk about who's holding the NWA belts, kind of reacquaint everybody with what's going on now since the reset of what happened at 75. And I feel like when you talk about the NWA and you want to talk about the titles they have in the promotion, you have to start with the 10 pounds of gold. We got EC3 beating Tyrus at 75. We get the reign of the Overman coming out of 75. What have been your initial thoughts and impressions of EC3 holding the 10 pounds of gold from sitting in your chair?
So, as a fan and as a wrestling fan, I totally understand that. We were just talking about Ryback. Like Ryback's got this weird rep on the internet. EC3 is another guy who's had like the weird rep since he came out with this control your narrative stuff and was doing all of that and all of the odd stuff there, which is weird to some people. And I will say, doing what I do, I get to go to the shows. I get to see and talk to these people. EC3's a unique guy, and not like in a bad way. He's actually like, I don't want to, I'm trying to figure out the kayfabe way of saying this, I guess. Like he's been perfectly nice to me every time I've talked to him and kind of funny. And I don't think taking himself as seriously as some people think he does. And so he's kind of the guy who also likes to poke a little bit and like to see what he could stir up. And so all of that said, I think that the fact that he's willing to do that also makes him a good choice in the spot. I get it. He looks like a champion. He can wrestle. He actually, we're coming off a situation where everybody was a little bit, I don't know. You know what I'm saying. We're got a new champion. And this guy is he's in some ways controversial, but probably less controversial than the last guy that was champion. And so what I love about him, if I'm making any sense so far, is what I really dig about him is he represents the kind of champion that I liked when Aldis was the champion, or the champions you think of in the past. That he is, love him or hate him, he is the guy that's gonna want to take this title and defend it anywhere that will put him on the show. And so he cares about making that title be a real legitimate world's championship. He wants it to be as important as any other world's title. I believe him when he says that. And so I'm happy with him as champion. Like I think he's going to do some cool stuff.
Jax, as somebody who is new to the NWA on this version, Billy's NWA, what did you think about watching NWA 75 and kind of jumping in 2 feet first into the product, having not really been following it until recently, and then seeing the EC3 win and now having a chance a few weeks out of 75? What are your impressions of somebody whose eyes are fresh on the product of EC3 as the champion?
I personally thought 75 was a perfect way to jump in, because I remember looking at you afterwards going, they just reset the NWA. It's like everything's new. And I mean, you had Tom Latimer kept his belt. I mean, you had certain, but it was pretty much a reset.
He was the only one.
Yeah. I've been going back watching the Powerrrs, trying to stay up with it. I'm loving the new entrance look and everything. But EC3 winning was kind of cool, because I remember watching him in TNA. Like, I remember him going to WWE and WWE squandering him. And now he's like not only NWA champion, but he's riding that high of OVW also, but also gets more eyes on. Okay, some more of these people who watch OVW are going to go, hey, let's go watch NWA. Let's see what's like. I think EC3 is doing wonders for the belt right now.
I agree. Both of you, very well said. Next on my list, she's a hot shot, and she comes from my neck of the woods, actually. Coming out of the New South Pro Wrestling area, the Knoxville area, the old stopping grounds of Jim Crockett Promotions. You get Kinsey Page. She's holding the Burke. Coming out of 75, one of my biggest takeaways from my side in my notes is you can't really talk about Kinsey Page getting that women's title without talking about dethroning Camille in over an 800-day reign or whatever it was. Like the absolute, the show that Camille put on for her entire title reign, and now for Kinsey to be the new face of the women's division. Jax, I'm going to let you tee off this one. What did you think when you saw Kinsey get the belt that night?
I was shocked. I was like, there's no, because like I know who of Camille because I found her through the NWA AEW working relationship they had there for a little bit. And I'm thinking, there ain't no way this is just a big, strong woman. This little girl, I was like, I felt bad for the little girl. I was like, yeah. And then to see how it happened, I'm thinking, okay, this is like you've dethroned, like it is something new and something different. And I'm excited to see where she goes with it. It's always fun to see something like to see where someone's gonna like take the belt, because everyone takes it somewhere. It's either going to be in a negative way or it's going to be in a positive way. And it's just fun to be along for the ride to see where she's going to go with it.
Gary, for you looking at Kinsey's reign, you've had a chance to see her grow in a lot of ways, from being the first women's TV champion all the way through to building up to winning the Burke itself. What did you think about Kinsey being the one to dethrone Camille at 75, and now where we're heading now with the new NWA and Kinsey Page being at the helm of the women's division?
To start, she's got some super big shoes to fill. It is going to be very difficult to fill the shoes and to make to keep that title at the level that Camille had it. That said, I don't want to be the guy that toots my old horn, but toot toot. I have said this on the live stream and even back on my old podcast when everybody would talk about who's going to beat Camille. I always said, for me, Kinsey is the right person to do it. And it's because of what you just said. Like, I saw Kinsey come in and I saw her grow into her role, and nobody works like Kinsey works. Like, Kinsey, she doesn't have Camille's size and strength, but she's got the skill. And there's a reason that people like come into the NWA and one of the people they want to work with and help is Kinsey. Mickie James did it. Mickie James immediately, like, I think Kinsey just missed Empower, if I'm not mistaken. But right after that is when she came in, and Mickie loved Kinsey and talked about Kinsey all the time. In interviews, you would hear her mention Kinsey Page. And I think Kinsey Page is in one of her music videos even. Like, she would just say, like, I've got all the time in the world for that girl. Whenever she wants advice, whenever she wants help, I want to be there for her. Chelsea Green, you saw her immediately after the title win tweet about how happy she was about Kinsey Page winning the world's title. There's not one star today that hasn't worked with Kinsey Page that doesn't think Kinsey Page has what it takes to be the top person. And she didn't start that way. Like, I mean, she started out as a young, shy, like, she's got the pedigree, don't get me wrong. Like, she's been on the indie, she busts her ass on the independent scene, she trains with Dr. Tom, like, she works really hard, but she came in not quite coming into her own. And now, I don't know, I mean, it's harder to think that there is anybody else besides a Camille that thinks they deserve that title as much as Kinsey Page does. And she'll be the first one to tell you that. And so, good for her. Good for her that she got it. And I'm excited to see what she does. I mean, again, Camille's one of the people that I talked about at the beginning of this show, where I talked about the people you're going to be talking about in 4 or 5 years from now that you're like, can you believe, because I mean that I don't know what Camille's going to do with her life, but when her contract with NWA is up, if AEW and WWE aren't talking to her, I think they're crazy. And if she's not talking to them, I think she's crazy. I think that there's going to be competition for Camille when her contract comes up.
All right. AJ in the chat brings up a good question. It's a little bit further down my list, and it's not about a title, but I'm curious about your take on it. He brings up Vampiro at 75. La Rebellion dropped the titles to Blunt Force Trauma. I don't want to bypass BFT before we get there, but one of my favorite things about NWA Power right now are the Brothers of Construction, Violent J, La Rebellion, and Vampiro, and everything that they've been doing over the last, say, month or so since 75 with that story of the Wild and Crazy Clowns and then Vampiro thrown into the mix of it. How much fun is that right now for you guys being able to watch it and see it unfold and the stories they're getting to tell, especially incorporating such a weird wild card like a Violent J from the ICP?
I saw Jax get crunk, so I'm going to let him talk.
For someone who's just getting into, like, falling back into NWA, I love the Brothers of Construction. Like, I want to know how they wrestle in them big ass shoes.
The clown shoes, man. Every week when I see it, I'm like, okay, that's cool.
And I think it's a good feud right now. I'm excited to see where this is going. I've seen it from the beginning, and I'm going to ride the wave and see where it goes. I think they're going to have a damn good match. Like, because Violent J's not afraid to put his body out there. He did it when he was in WCW. He did it when he was in WWE. Yes, if no one remembers, Violent J has wrestled pretty much everywhere. Okay?
People online like to pretend like this is we just brought in some random guy. But it's like, this guy's got history everywhere.
WCW, They were active in the tag team title picture. ICP was at one point. Like these guys they've taken a bump or two in their day.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just gonna be like I'm watching it right now purely because what got me hooked to Law Rebellion was when they put the titles up against the Briscoes. Because I'm a big Briscoes fan. And so I knew who they were. I was very shocked to see them drop the belts because I knew they've had a very lengthy run with the belts. But then throw them in a feud with a group like Brothers of Construction. You made a fan out of me. I'm watching it now. This is great. Some of the best stuff on NWA Power right now.
I'm with you. I it's one of my favorite things too, and those are some of my favorite guys, like in general, just as talent, as people, like just as like they're having a good time, man, and they're out there and they're ready to go, and they want to take it to each other, and they want to outdo each other, and I'm excited to see where their feud goes because it's they all have history together. Like I think on our live stream on one episode, Mecha Wolf and La Rebellion they were on there, and Mecha Wolf talked about Yabo being the guy, like his family was who took him in when he was homeless. Like they've got like this past, and Vampiro's got history with him because he worked at Insane Clown Posse's wrestling promotion. He was their world champion, and the Brothers of Constructions were their tag team champions.
Yeah.
And it's cool when you see a person like Violet J, who doesn't have to be there, but he asked to be there. He wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to come in with those guys when he saw what was going on. The funny thing with the NWA sometimes is there's like this whole nostalgia aspect to it that like people consider it. And so it's funny, like when you see like some wrestling fans online are like, oh, this is like old redneck wrestling, like this is what that is. And then, but the old redneck fans are like, oh, you got those damn clowns in here. Like, that's not real wrestling. And so, but I always like that side of it. I'm always like, man, have you watched the clowns wrestle? Because those clowns, to me, they're like the Hardy Boys. Like, they're like, they go in there and they are legit. Like, there's the clown thing is, to me, the clown thing makes perfect sense. You're psyching people out because when they get in the ring, there's nothing fake about their ability. Like they get in there and they go just like any other tag team. They legitimately want to fight and they want to wrestle. And so
they're not doing like doink the clown stuff in the middle of the match. They're not doing like, no, they get in there and the bell rings and something clicks. And it's time for business. Yeah,
and they'll pull out like every once in a while, like a little, especially at the start of a match, like a balloon animal or something, and try to screw with your mind. But that's, to me, that's like, oh yeah, if you were going to be a wrestler, what's another way to get an advantage on your opponent? You psych them out a little bit with like, what am I looking at? What are you doing? Is this a joke to you? And then they attack you, and then it's on. And so I love the clowns. I think the clowns are great. And I love seeing where these people go. Look, La Rebellion is amazing. They're longtime tag team champions. I feel strongly it won't be the last time they'll be tag team champions. But look at this. I mean, now you've got the world tag team titles on another team and a whole other feud, which is cool in its own right. And this is a tag team feud that's cool in its own right. I love tag team wrestling, so it's cool to me that there's a lot of tag team stuff happening, and it all is special to me. Like, it all makes sense, and it's all important.
So you mentioned the Brothers of Construction. They like to fight. The current national heavyweight champion also likes to fight. Thrillbilly Silas Mason. Looking at his ascent as the national heavyweight champion, he went all the way back to the Chicago 312 show at the Battle Royale, the Memorial, to get the shot at the Crockett Cup with EC3. And you go all the way back there and you watch his ascent to 75 to winning the belt. And then all the drama that was involved with Poyo and everything that happened with there. It's just another, I'm really trying to hammer home how many cool stories the NWA has really been able to tell over the last 12 months, getting to 75 and everything that's happened since. And Silas being that person and that slow climb of being that the old, Memphis gets over everywhere, right? That baby face, the chasing the car, and then what does he have to do to get that title? He's got to, lie, cheat, and steal to get there. And he's in all the beautiful things about old school traditional wrestling with Silas Mason's climb to the national heavyweight title. Let's go with Jax. I'll have you tee off first because, again, having fresh eyes on the product, you hadn't seen a lot of Silas Mason's work then, and then you got to watch the match at 75. What did you think about it? Like seeing Silas come up, seeing Silas win, when trying to explain to you the importance of this win. Like I said, going back all the way to the Memorial Battle Royale at 3-1-2.
I like to point out this every time we talk about 75, that Will popped harder for Silas winning than everyone at WrestleMania did for Cody Rhodes. He was just like, yeah, like he's throwing stuff. Like,
Silas is my boy. He's a friend of the show. I like him. He's a good friend. He's a great guy. I like Silas.
But I don't know a lot about him, so I don't really know the run up to winning the belt. But as watching him, I like his in-ring work. I like that old school look. And he's got a really fucking nice mullet.
Great.
Like that's important. But he's got that old school look. He's not chiseled out of stone, but he's not a tiny guy
at all.
Like, so it's going to be exciting to see where this run goes. Like, and I'm glad Will was the reason I watched 75. He's like, hey, we're going to watch 75. I was like, okay.
Well, I'm glad you got Jax to watch 75, Will.
I'm looking forward to it, man. But from your perspective, Gary, and again, it's like you've had a chance to watch these stories build and your eyes on the product, having a chance. What did you think about it? All the drama that unfolded that night between Silas and Pollo and finally getting that belt and everything they had been telling over the last 12 minutes. From your perspective, what did you think about it? And Silas coming out of it as the national heavyweight champion?
Well, look, I can't abide what he did to Pollo. Pollo's my girl. I hate that.
It breaks my heart now.
Yeah, I think Pollo might be part of the reason I'm even here today. So, that it was completely unfair what Silas did to her, and I want to see Pollo bounce back and hopefully manage another talent to success and maybe even to a national title shot against Silas Mason. I think that would be nice. But all of that said, if there was ever anybody that the first time I ever met them, I thought, wow, this person is something special. This is someone different. It was Silas, because like Silas just immediately exudes something. And he's got those, you always hear those stories about there's just something different about this person, and there's just something special about them. And Silas is that. Like, Silas is, first of all, like Jack said, not a small man by any means, and especially when you see him up close. Like, he is a big boy, and he, like you mentioned, he's not like cut up like some of the folks you see, but he is huge and powerful, and you kind of appreciate that, especially in a place like the NWA, like just that old school, like Terry Gordy kind of look, like, and he's playing Terry Gordy in the movie coming up. So,
is he?
Yeah. And A24 is the Iron Claw, the movie about the Von Erichs. Yeah. So, so he'll fit right in, because that's the first person I think of when I see him. So like he's got that look about him, and he's got personality. Like, I don't even think the NWA has been able to figure out exactly how to use all of that yet, because I will say this about Throwbilly, he's got anything is possible when he touches the mic, and so I feel everybody's butt clenches when he starts to talk, because you're like, what is he going to say next? And who is he going to call out? Like, you're just like, and you don't know what's coming, and it's exciting and threatening, it's intriguing. It keeps you can't not watch the guy though.
Okay. I'm going to lump these next two together, and not for anything more than just to roll through the last couple titles before I ask you a question specifically about somebody coming into the NWA. Max the Impaler, the women's TV title, Pretty Empowered, and the women's tag belts. I don't with everything happening right now in women's wrestling. How cool is it for you guys with the NWA to have such a it's a bolstered roster, because you've got the Burke, you've got the women's TV championships and the women's tag titles, and they all have viable stories and champions, and coming out of it with Pretty Empowered and Kinsey Page all holding gold, Max dominating the women's mid card now. Like, how cool is it from your seat for NWA to be, in a world where people are going, we want more women's wrestling, like Billy and NWA is putting it out there and putting some of their women's talent at the forefront, having 3 active titles on TV pretty much every week now.
Can I just say right off the bat, like, I know I'm going to be the biased person here, but I think the women's division in the National Wrestling Alliance is unmatched. I think that those women are amazing. I think from Camille to Natalia to Pretty Empowered, Max the Impaler, and M95. There's just so many women in the NWA. And I know I'm forgetting someone to mention right now, but it's like Taylor Rising is coming in and is awesome. And there's just I love the women's division, and they are always the ones to watch at every show. They're always the ones to look out for on a pay-per-view. At a pay-per-view, the women show up and they show out, and they are the ones to keep your eyes on, because they'll steal the show. I mean, this is maybe talking a little out of school, but I've even been there when, like, Pat Kenny has to walk in a room and say, like, hey, I hate to say this, but guess what? The women stole the show last night. Sorry, guys. It's time to keep up. Like that. It's just like, he's like, I feel like a broken record, but the ladies bring it, and so it's I don't know. I think it's undeniable there. Pretty Empowered, they're going to be a blast as tag team champions. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with them this week on NWA Power as we're doing this. You're going to see Natalia Markova team up with Taylor Rising, who they've had a little interaction with together. Markova wrestled her at NWA 75 Night 2 and then saved her from Max the Impaler in Max's first TV title defense. Now they're going to team up together. They've been developing a bond. They're going to take on M95. The winner of that is going to go on to face Pretty Empowered at NWA Solid on October 28th. So that's going to be interesting to see who comes out of that one. But yeah, I think Pretty Empowered, it's cool seeing that faction dominate right now in the women's division. You love to hate them. Max the Impaler, well, if you miss having a dominant beast as a champion in Camille, the world title, well, the women's TV title, you got that there. And, and even another part of it that I love is, who did they beat to get that title? Kinsey Page, the current women's world heavyweight champion. So there's a built-in matchup you want to see again, because once Max, assuming somebody doesn't pin Max, which who can you imagine is going to do it? But if Max cashes in and goes after that World Women's Championship, then that's already intriguing, because that's who they got the belt from in the first place. So anyway, I've rambled enough, Jack. Sorry.
Oh no, you're totally fine. Like I said, I'm still getting into like this new era of NWA, so it's very exciting to hear like from someone who's been more seasoned than I am. This gets me more excited to see what's coming.
Noob in the chat brought up Natalia Markova, another one who had absolute bangers of matches with Camille for that Burke. You look at people like Tom Latimer, the TV champ, you get into the US tag championships. There's, you were rattling off names of people we haven't even had a chance to talk to in the last hour. But one of the people that I want to ask you about from the NWA side of things is Matt Cardona. You brought him up as somebody who's been able to be successful in the indies, getting out there and working and making it. He's said multiple times he did the open challenge at 75. He wants to have a shot to eventually get back to have that title, and he never lost. What are your thoughts on Cardona and maybe possibly coming back into the NWA to come after that 10 pounds of gold again?
He's a guy who brings eyeballs. That's for sure. He's maybe I don't know. I mean, besides a guy like Colt Cabana, has there ever been a more successful person on the Indies? I don't know. Like Matt Cardona is the man. Nothing you can say about his success rate, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with EC3, or EC3 is facing Tom Latimer at NWA Solid on October 28th. So whoever walks out of that as the champion, you can tell Matt Cardona wants a piece of him. Cardona, I know, loves the National Wrestling Alliance, loves being there, loves doing stuff with them. The hardest part with Cardona ever with NWA shows is scheduling, I think, because Cardona is booked up a year in advance for like every date that he does, and the NWA, unfortunately, right now is still not yet in a position that they schedule that far out on where they're going to be and all of that. You know, it's not like the huge company, so that's always been the thing, is like lining up those dates. Look at like last year, I think the reason he made it to 75 is they booked him a year in advance. Like at the last at 74, they were like, all right, we know we're going to be here for this, and we know we want you to be here too. And that worked out. I mean, I don't know. Matt Cardona just had a run in with one PW, I guess, and a booking fell through. So maybe something could happen. It's the same weekend as NWA Solids. Who knows? Maybe they'll figure something out. But yeah, I think Matt Cardona's not done in the National Wrestling Alliance, and we'll see him again. And EC3 has gone back and forth with him on Twitter, or X, sorry, on X, that Cardona.
It's still Twitter.
Yeah. Every time the world title is mentioned, you'll see Matt Cardona also bring up the fact that he still feels he's the justified world's champion. And I think even the last thing I saw, EC3 said, I'd love to face you in the most deathy of death matches, or something like that.
Deathy of death matches.
So that, I don't know. That's wild to think about, but I don't feel as though EC3 is ducking the idea that Cardona's out there talking all that smack. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Jax, what do you think about Cardona?
Give me more Cardona. I'm loving me some Cardona right now. He came out in the Ecto one. I'm sold on Cardona.
That was at the W Homecoming, right? Wasn't that when he did that? Him and Steph came out in the Ghostbusters gear.
Yeah. There's not much more I can say other than Matt Cardona's proven it. You can do it on the indie scene without needing a major promotion behind you. But it would be, I think that as a fan, him and EC3 would have a really decent match. I'd be very excited to see it.
Neither one of those guys are like, technical wizards or the most huge powerhouses, but they're the most like psychology wise, like they know how to be pro wrestlers. Like they're very entertaining to watch. So I'd be very interested to see what those two guys do. You're not getting like Omega and Osprey or something like that, and it's not that match, and it's not, like I said, it's not like two huge powerhouses or something, but it's going to be interesting what those two guys do once they face off with each other, because they're both very big personalities. So it'd be interesting.
All right, guys, we did it. It's the easiest hour, because it's when you're just hanging out talking about wrestling. It's not too terribly hard to go. Before we go, Gary, tell everybody where to find you. Plug all your stuff, your socials. Tell everybody what's going on with the live streams for NWA Power. Anything you want to put over, man, here's your chance.
Yeah, I do the NWA live stream. It's every week on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can jump on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/NWA, and you can see me alongside Joe Galley, Kyle Davis, usually Danny Deals, and always some sort of special guest pops in. Just depends on the week. So we've had everybody here recently, from Aaron Stevens to, I'm trying to think of who. Ruthie J was just recently on. The Southern Six was asked for, so I'm in the middle of trying to figure them out for tomorrow night. Like getting all three of the Southern Six to be in one place at the same time is difficult unless you're paying a lot of money. So we'll see. We'll see if they show up tomorrow night. And but other than that, I don't know. I'll pitch that I have at TIPW show. That's my old wrestling podcast. It's been kind of slow lately because of all the NWA stuff. I also do if you like movies, I do a movie podcast called Cinema Shock. It's at cinema_shock. And we usually we're expanding now, but we usually pick a director and roll with it. We just finished up a whole series on John Waters and went through like the early part of his career. I think we're moving into David Fincher here pretty soon. And so we'll be talking about all of those movies. And it's a lot of fun. We deep dive into everything to tell you everything you could ever want to know about all the process that went into making that movie, like the behind the scenes stuff on those. Love doing that. We had our first live show this weekend. That was awesome. And so anyway, so check out Cinema Shock wherever you get your podcast too.
Appreciate
and
sir.
youtube.com/NWA. Yeah, I said that already, but you go subscribe and watch the NWA.
That's an important one. That's a big one to remember.
And NWA Solid, October 28th from Cleveland, Ohio. If you're in Cleveland, on sale right now. See, I just remembered I should be in promotion mode here. NWATix.com. We're going to Nashville on November 4th. We'll be in Sarasota on November 17th. You're shaking your arms? Are you going to be at Nashville?
Yeah, Nashville's my backyard.
Oh, sweet. So we'll have to meet in person. I'd
Yeah.
love to meet you. Like, see you there. That'd be cool. And yeah, that'd be awesome. We'll have to work something out, but yeah, that'll be cool. I'll be in Nashville and definitely in Cleveland, and I don't know about Sarasota yet, but we'll see.
Jack,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I'm a little bit of everywhere. I'm here every Sunday for Botched Chair Shots, every Tuesday for Nerdy News, every Monday for Sorry for the Interruption over on Off the Top. Yeah, if any other shows, just go find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Jaxbo2020.
All right.
I'm jealous of you guys' belts. I'm sorry, I stepped on your thing, Will, but
No.
I'm just looking at all your belts now, like Jackson's belts, and the IC belt's my ultimate favorite belt. I think maybe besides the 10 pounds of gold. And
that's my favorite.
Which I do.
belt.
Which I do have at 10 pounds of gold.
Yeah, I saw your 10 pounds back there, and I've got mine back here. That's been the coolest part for me, like long term, about this NWA thing is ever since Aldous, I think I've got every signature, and even now, like Tommy Rich and Ric Flair, and like all these people to sign it. I think that's kind of cool. That's been my favorite part of the NWA thing so far. Anyway, sorry, I'll shut up.
I have something cool to show you after we get off air. Then, you'll appreciate it. All the stuff I say it every episode, guys. Join the Discord. You want a direct link to me, the other hosts, the producers for Rivet City Radio. That's where you'll find it. If you're into merch, check out angrylemonade.com/botspots and share shots. We use them. Lots of NWA guys use them. Check out Angry Lemonade for all that merch. If you have Amazon Prime, use your Prime Gaming subscription. Give it to us. Give it to the Wrestle Talk Wolfpack. Give it to any of your favorite Twitch streamers, just as long as it doesn't go back to Jeff Bezos, because he's got way too much money as it is. The lifeblood for Rivet City is the Patreon, though. It's less than a cup of coffee, $5 a month to get you all the ad-free shows, all of the writing I do. It gets you the Hill Support Group with Max and Colby, the My GM mode, Raw Rewind, all of that nonsense. That's pretty much it. Big shout out. I want to give a big shout out to Poyo, by the way. Poyo did line this up. I sent him a message, kind of explain what I wanted to do coming out of 75. And they were like, get hold of Gary. That's the guy for this, for what you want to do. And you were, sir. I appreciate your time this evening for stopping by and chatting about some wrestling with us.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm honored, guys. That was cool. And yeah, Poyo definitely sent me the message. It was like, you need to talk to these guys. And I was like, all right. And,
that makes me happy. That I love Poyo so much. That's it. We're off the hook. Anything for the class before I start talking real fast? Nope.
No.
All righty. Now, as we close another episode of Botched and Share Shots, take a minute. Thank you for listening. Remind you to go wherever you do anything on the internet, like, follow, subscribe, unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Leave a comment. Tell me how great I am or how grateful you are. Gary came on to talk about wrestling. Either way, it helps the algorithm and it finds new listeners. If you're feeling really generous to be one of the VIP people, head over to patreon.com and donate to the Rivet City Radio Podcast Network. You get some fantastic swag. We get some fantastic guests. It's a win-win for my boy, the Ginger Ninja Jaxbo, and for Gary Horne. I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.